What do you see there when you go to Hampi? Hampi ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮಗೆ? Hampi. Can you see this, rocky granitic hills? If you see a aerial view of Hampi, you'll be seeing, Tungabhadra River flowing next to Hampi, magnificent gopurams, temples, stone chariots, all of these things. So we know, the Vijayanagara Empire has a great history. Correct, alva? Why Vijayanagara Empire is renowned? Why do people, respect this culture so much, or this kingdom so much? What is their contribution to Karnataka and the rest of the country? Any idea? How did they contribute to our culture? Our well-being, economy, agriculture? Do you think the contribution of the Vijayanagara Empire is substantial? Definitely yes. Or else, this kingdom which ruled for around 300 years, and lost all its glory after the famous battle of Talikota, was only known in the 1800s. Until then, people had forgotten that there is, a place called as Vijayanagara. Okay, it was only Colin Mackenzie, who was a British in origin. He found out, he discovered these areas through the local people. Correct, alva? So, what is so unique about them? You have read about the Delhi Sultanate recently. Correct, alva? And one precaution which I am giving you is, the Bahmanis and the Vijayanagara Empire have fought with each other. The local Rajputs and the Delhi Sultanates have fought, with each other. But we cannot, term all this as a Hindu-Muslim conflict. It was a conflict between two powers, one headed by a Muslim kingdom, one headed by a Hindu kingdom. Because there were, Muslim mercenary soldiers who have served under Vijayanagara, under the Rajputs also, and the vice versa. Okay? On a whole, due to political and other aspects, today it is painted like that. Aita? After, so Vijayanagara Empire, according to me, is very heroic. So hero introduction kinta munche, villain elevation kodabeku. Rajmouli film ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಂಗೆ ತಾನೇ ಇರೋದು. That is a technique. So what has happened after the death of Prophet Muhammad? Islam, started to grow. It was actually growing through peace, but after his death, within 200 years, the Muslim barbarians, rulers, expanded, exponentially towards Asia, towards the Byzantine Empire, towards the West, throughout the world, we can say. On that point of time, world antandre it is Eurasia. America dalella kaadu jana, they were not civilized. Correct, alva? So the whole world, they occupied the whole world. They came to Asia, Southeast Asia, West Asia, everything. So the Arabs, the Turks, who were all, first initially were all uncivilized or tribals or nomads. They were all civilized with Islam through Prophet Muhammad's teachings. After his death, within 200 years, they spread, gradually. One such thing, what happened to India was also entry of Islam into India. It entered through, it entered through Sufi saints and other, noble people. But the Islamic rulers, Ghazni came, he looted, went back. But it was only Muhammad Ghori who had, political intention in India, who wanted to rule over this, this province. So Muhammad Ghori came, conquered areas of Punjab. Okay, then he saw the riches of Sindh. He occupied this place. So this was the first time an Islamic state is being established in the country. You have invasions. The Gurjaras and other Rajputs have resisted the Arabs for more than 500 years. But now they came in. They're coming inside the Himalayas through the Khyber Pass. Okay, they're coming in and establishing themselves. So Muhammad Ghori established an Islamic state in the northwestern part of the country. He'll go back. He'll, conquer some other places. But what happens? He will come into conflict with a tribal community called as Kokras. Kokras are Punjabi tribals. They were always, defensive of the Islamic invasions. So they say the legends andre the writings, historical inscriptions say it is the Kokras who killed Gori. So after his death, his slave, who's he? Qutbuddin Aibak was left in Delhi. It is he who actually established the Delhi Sultanate or the slave dynasty. Correct, Alva? So the slave dynasty established a pure Islamic kingdom. Correct, Alva? The inscriptions of Archaeological Survey of India itself says the Quwwatul Islam Mosque was set up in Delhi. Correct, Alva? Qutub Minar, were all set up by destroying 27 Hindu and Jain temples. So their initial act was not against religion. All this was to showcase their authority on the people. So these religious structures showcased their authority over, their administrative authority over the people. So the slave dynasty established themselves. It was later passed on to Iltutmish. Now, in the past 500, 600 years, the Muslims have dominated the world. Alva, they have dominated Mongolia, China, Southeast Asia, Myanmar, ella kade. India go banbididare, and they have went into West Asia, Eastern Europe, everywhere. Now there is a threat to the Muslims by someone else. Who is he? This Muslim, this Islamic kingdoms which developed so much, suddenly they face a threat in form of one person. Who is he? It is Genghis Khan from Mongolia. He consolidated all the Mongolian nomadic pastoral people. He conquered China. He came until Vietnam, Cambodia. He conquered all of these places. Came to Central Asia, came to West Asia. He devastated the entire Islamic world. So what all the riches they had earned, the Islamic states, now they lost it to the Mongolians or the Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan, whatever. So I think you know about him. Wherever he went, he procreated. He had many kids. Okay, so many in Central Asia are his descendants. Okay, so that is why you can see Mongolian origin people in Central Asia also. Aita. So this happened, but he came until the borders of India also. But he did not enter India. What is the reason? Very similarly, Alexander came until the borders of the Indus River. He faced two local leaders, and then he went back to Europe. He did not enter into mainland India where the Nandas were ruling. Very similarly, the Delhi Sultanate has been established. The slave dynasty is ruling. In particular, Iltutmish's son-in-law of Qutbuddin Aibak was ruling. Compared to Genghis Khan, he's not as powerful as him. Then why didn't he attack India? One source say that the Delhi Sultanates, they were very clever. They were very neutral in their policy. They were very diplomatic. They did not trouble him in their in his conquests. So he was not triggered by their actions. They say that he followed a neutral policy. That is one of the main reasons why he did not enter into Indus or came and attacked India. So it survived. The Delhi Sultanate survived. So once it survived, what is happening? They're expanding more. They're expanding towards east until Odisha. They're coming to south, but not yet crossed the Vindhyas. Correct, Alva? Now one person is crossing Vindhyas after the slave dynasty. Who comes to power? The Khiljis. Khiljis, especially under Alauddin Khilji, and especially his slave general Malik Kafur. Alauddin Khilji will actually first go to Gujarat, defeat them. Malik Kafur was found in Gujarat itself. So he brings along with him, Malik Kafur with him, back to Delhi. So what happens? Until now, Delhi is the seat of power. Alva, in ancient India, it was Patna. In medieval India, it is Delhi. Now, Delhi is the seat of power in India. Vijayanagara illa, yadu illa. As of now, when the Delhi Sultanate is ruling. So Delhi is the seat of power. Earlier it was, when Ghazni came into India, who was ruling over Delhi? The Delhi region. The Rajputs. Correct, Alva? Later, one of the Rajput kings, Anangpal Tomar, established Lal Fort in Delhi. That is when you have first establishment of Delhi. Quwwatul Islam Mosque was then set up by Qutbuddin Aibak. So an Islamic structure came in the near to Lal Killa itself, or the Lal Fort. Then Alauddin Khilji is coming. Near to Delhi is building one more city called Siri. So Delhi is the seat of power. It was a belief that anyone who controlled Delhi will control India. So the slaves or the slave dynasty is controlling over Delhi. Alauddin Khilji is controlling Delhi, sitting in Siri. What is happening? He's sending Malik Kafur to cross the Vindhyas, is going, defeating the Kakatiyas, they are Hindus, defeating the Hoysalas. Not just defeating, devastating them, burning the temples, slaughtering people. They came down south and they weakened these kingdoms. Okay, so this is the first assault on the Hindu kingdoms on the south. Aita? When I say Hindu, Muslim, don't take it in a religious context. It is for your understanding we are saying. Okay, so all these Hindu big kingdoms which were there, they were all devastated in the first blow. So Malik Kafur went back after Alauddin Khilji. After the Khiljis, it is Tughlaqs. Who established it? Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. So Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq established, the Tughlaq Empire. His son Muhammad bin Tughlaq also established a city called as Jahanpana. Jahanpana is also Delhi. So Lal Killa, Lal Fort by Angpal Tomar, Quwwatul Mosque, Siri, until Jahanpana, it is all in Delhi. So Delhi is the seat of power for another 50 years. We'll see what happens later. So now what is happening? Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, you know how he dies, right? I think I told you. Then when Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq went to Odisha and he was coming back to Delhi, his son Muhammad bin Tughlaq arranged a platform for a ceremony. So when the elephants, Mada Bandirani antaralva, when such elephants ransacked it, he fell there and he died. But Ibn Battuta, a historian who was live there, he writes it like this: it was a planned assassination. But one thing is true, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq died on a stage, on a pavilion, something fell on him. Some historians say that he died because of a thunderbolt. Mostly Muhammad bin Tughlaq ಬರ್ಸಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ತಾಜ್ ಮಹಲ್ ಕಟ್ಟಿದವ್ರೆ ಕೈ ಮುರಿದಾಕಿದ್ರು. ಇನ್ನು ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಬರ್ಸಲ್ವ ಇವರು? ಬರ್ಸಿರ್ತಾರೆ. But the fact is that Muhammad bin Tughlaq was involved in, ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗಿದ್ನ, ಇಂಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗಿದ್ನ, ಅವ್ರ ಅಪ್ಪನ ಸಾಯಿಸಿದವ್ರು ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq died. Now this mad guy is coming to power. Muhammad bin Tughlaq, establishing his city in Delhi. At some point of time, he feels that, it is very difficult for me to rule from sitting in Delhi, so I should shift to the central part of India. He comes to Devagiri. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಅವನು ಎಂತ ಹುಚ್ಚ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಅಗೇನ್ ಹಿ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಹುಚ್ಚ ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಈಸ್ ಅ ಸ್ಯಾಡಿಸ್ಟ್ ಫೆಲೋ. ಅವನು ಡಂಗೂರ ಸಾರಿಸ್ತಾನೆ. ಡಂಗೂರನ ಅದೇನೋ ಹಿಂದಿಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. That everyone should, empty this city. Everyone should be coming to Devagiri. Some legends, they write it in their books. They say, he stood on the fort, he was so happy seeing these empty cities. No smoke from the chimneys of the homes, from the kitchens, no bullock carts on the roads, no people. He was happy by seeing that. He came along with them to Devagiri in the heat. Many people died, on the way itself. Many kids were there. First of all, it was summer, so people died. It is around 1,000 kilometers from there to here. People died on the way. Then again, he felt that it is very difficult to control North India. He shifted back to Delhi. Apart from this, he introduced copper coins instead of silver coins. So that is the most foolish thing anyone can do. So some compared even Modi's demonetization to Tughlaq doing this, but I'm not comparing. Some people, compared it. Okay, so he issued all of these things which drained the economy. Apart from this, the most devastating thing that gave a big blow to the Tughlaqs was his invasion towards the Himalayan kingdoms. When he went to the Himalayas by taking 1,00,000 soldiers, they say only around 10 people returned. That was a huge blow because of the cold weather. Aita? There's one more thing to prove that he is a mad fellow on the prove madadake. A historian writes like this. One day when he was changing his dress in his room, sunlight to kannige biduttante. Okay, so this is a story to prove that it nijana sulla gottilla, but he has written this. When sunlight hit his eye, he was so angered on sun. He ordered his soldiers to go and attack his enemy, that is the sun. So everyone convinced him that we cannot go there, but still he wanted to go. He actually took lakhs of soldiers along with them. At one point of time ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್ನ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾನಲ್ವಾ, ಧೂಳೆದ್ದಿ ಸನ್ನು ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯು ಆರ್ ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫೈಡ್ ದೆನ್ ದಟ್ ಐ ಡಿಫೀಟೆಡ್ ಮೈ ಎನಿಮಿ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಯು ಆರ್ ಸಚ್ ಅ ಫಿಕಲ್ ಮೈಂಡೆಡ್ ಫೋಲಿಶ್ ಗೈ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಾ? ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೌ ದ ತುಗ್ಲಕ್ಸ್, ಬಟ್ ಹಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾಂಡೆಡ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಕಿಂಗ್ಡಮ್. ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ವರ್ ಡನ್ ಬೈ ಹಿಮ್. ಸೊ Delhi is still the seat of power. But now what is happening? after the death of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, there is gradual decline of, the Tughlaqs annadkinta decline of Delhi. So Delhi is declining. So if Delhi is declining, Modi strong irodike illi Yediyurappa mattadalla. Correct alva? Modine weak idre Yediyurappa ನನ್ನ ಮಗನೇ ಚೀಫ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಅದೇ ಆಗಿದ್ದು. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಇವಾಗ ರಾಹುಲ್ ಗಾಂಧಿ ವೀಕ್ ಇರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿದ್ದರಾಮಯ್ಯ ನಾನೇ ರಾಜ ಅಂತ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. Sultans were very strong. So that is why all their nobles, all their associates were keeping quiet. They did not claim independence. Now what is happening with the fall of Delhi, with the fall of the Tughlaq Empire, you have independent kingdoms being established throughout the country, not just in Vijayanagara. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಾ? So with the fall of Delhi Sultanate, many other kingdoms established themselves. One such kingdom was the Vijayanagara Empire. Correct alva? So now you got to know what has happened in the country. Now Delhi is no more a seat of power. Always remember, whenever Delhi loses its power, whenever Delhi is vulnerable, that is when the country is bound to fail. So you can understand the importance of Mughals. If not the Mughals, India cut and piece agbidodu. Always Delhi should be powerful. Why? Delhi is located here. This is Himalayas. Nobody can cross Himalayas and come. Illi neeride, illi ಈಜಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರೋ ಅಷ್ಟರಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಸುಸ್ತಾಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ. So the only way which you can come is from the northwest. That too, Punjab is plains. You can simply walk from Pakistan into India. So always that person who's sitting in Delhi should be very strong. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಾ? ಇವತ್ತೂ ಕೂಡ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಮೋದಿ ಗೆಲ್ತಿರೋದು ಅಂತಂದರೆ it is because of security issue only. That there might be other reasons, religious reasons. You understand, any leader who's coming to power is seen as a person who protects us from China and Pakistan. That was the same, with respect to ancient and medieval India also. Alexander also came from there. All the Muslim invaders also came from there itself. So a person who's sitting in Delhi should be very strong, is the feeling of people. So Ivak, they have been devastated. All these independent kingdoms are being establishing. Correct alva? So one such empire was the empire of Vijayanagara, who established themselves in the Illalva Hospete. This region they established themselves in between the south of the Tungabhadra river. Alva? So that is where you have today's Hampi, the Vijayanagara Empire. Who established the empire? Harihara and Bukka. Who are they? Who were Harihara and Bukka? Bukka the first. Harihara and Bukkaraya. Yaru Priyanka? Were the ordinary people? Sorry? ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅಳಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ವೇಸ್ಟ್. ಇವರು ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಇವರು. ನೀವೇ ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ, ವಿಜಯನಗರ ಹಾಳಾಗಿರೋದು ಅಳಿಯನಿಂದ, ಅಳಿಯ ರಾಮರಾಯ. ಎನಿವೆ ವಿಲ್ ಸಿ ದಟ್. ಓಕೆ, Harihara, Bukka. Who were they? Some say they were the commanders of the Hoysala Empire. Who defended the northern boundaries of the Hoysalas were Hakka and Bukka. Some say they were the chieftains of the Kakatiyas. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಇದು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, some give them Telugu origin. Kakatiyas Telangana alva, Telugu origin. Some say they belong to Karnataka, they are of Kannada origin. They served under the Hoysalas. But they were local chieftains, that was for sure. And they both were actually captured and taken to Delhi and converted to Islam also. Okay, so with the decline of Tughlaqs, they came back. When they came back, they, under the guidance of Guru Vidyaranya. Vidyaranya yaru? Is the Guru of Sringeri Sharada Peetham. So again, apart from Shankaracharya, when the whole country was devastated, Hindu culture was not there at one point of time. It is Shankaracharya from Kaladi, then established a mutt in Sringeri, went throughout the country through debates, he re-established the Hindu order. Same Vidyaranya is playing a huge role in re-establishing the lost culture of the Deccan or the southern India. They say he guided Harihara and Bukka to establish an independent kingdom with their initial capital at Anegundi. Anegundi is today's Gangavati. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ತುಂಗಭದ್ರಾ ಹತ್ರನೇ ಇರೋದು. ತುಂಗಭದ್ರೆಯಿಂದ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಇದೆ ಗಂಗಾವತಿ, ಅಂದರೆ ಆನೆಗುಂದಿ. it means it is a danger for them. If someone is attacking from the north, at least Tungabhadra will be like a barrier. That is why they came down to Hampi later. Technical or geographical. So they established Harihara and Bukka established they are from the Sangama dynasty. They established their capital city at Anegundi and Vijayanagara. Why did they establish their kingdom here? Jai Shila. ಒಂದು ಜಾನಪದ ಕಥೆ ಇದು, ನಿಜಾನ ಸುಳ್ಳೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಸುಳ್ಳು. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದೇ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ನಮ್ಮೂರಲ್ಲೂ ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೆ. They say when they both were, they went to hunting, they saw a scene where a dog was chasing a rabbit. At one point of time, this rabbit got so angry that it turned back and chased the dog away. So it is a symbolic way of telling that nobody can dominate you. They are called as fables or Janapada stories. It might be true or false, but it is a symbolic way of telling that no large power can dominate over us, even though we are tiny. So remember this. This is very symbolic with respect to Vijayanagara Empire. So Harihara and Bukka established themselves in the southern India. So now what happened? They gradually expanded. They expanded towards Odisha. They defeated the Reddis of Kondavidu dynasty in the Andhra Pradesh. They came down to south. Harihara's brother, Bukka I, when he took over his reign, he defeated the Madurai Sultanate, the only remaining Muslim power in the southern India. Madurai was ruled by the Madurai Sultanates, so he defeated them. This is written in, Madura Vijayam, that is written by Ganga Devi. Of Bukka's wife is Ganga Devi. She has written in her book called as Madura Vijayam, where they show that he is taking over the Madurai region or defeating the Madurai Sultanate. Now what is happening? Their capital is in the Ballari region or the Hospete region. They are expanding themselves entirely in southern India. Correct, Alva? Now you can ask me, what is the danger to them? They could have expanded towards the north also, right? But why didn't they? 1336 alli, the Vijayanagara Empire was established. Why didn't they expand to the north? Why? Any geographical reason, political reason? At the same point of time in 1347, there was establishment of one more power in the Gulbarga region itself, Hasanabad. Hasanabad is Gulbarga. Okay, one more superior power who called themselves as the Bahmanis. Okay, Hasan Gangu was an Afghan adventurer who established the Bahmani Empire. So there is a competition. South of Krishna Tungabhadra, you have the great Vijayanagara Empire. North of this is Gulbarga or Hasanabad, where the Bahmanis are establishing themselves. They are Muslims. They are Afghani origin. But this fellow Hasan Gangu was a slave of a Brahmin astrologer in Delhi. Okay, he was a slave of a Brahmin astrologer in Delhi whose name was Gangu. Hence he got his name Hasan Gangu. He's also called as Zafar Khan. But anyway, he was a slave of a Brahmin, not a priest, but an astrologer. When the Tughlaqs, when the Delhi Sultanate was disintegrating, this fellow also tries to claim independence in the Deccan. Initially he fails. But with the gradual decline of Delhi, he was successful in establishing an independent Bahmani kingdom in the central India, which grew to be very big. So you have Hyderabad in the east, you have Maharashtra in the north. So this is also a very big province. Why these two kingdoms were powerful? It is because of the presence of the rich Doab region, the Krishna Tungabhadra Doab region, the Raichur Doab anta kariteve. There you had paddy being grown, agriculturally very, very, very prosperous. So they paid taxes to the king, right? That was the major reason for their prosperity. Apart from that, they had the access to the Konkan coast, where they traded with the external world. Again, the Bahmanis are establishing themselves. Vijayanagara Empire is establishing themselves. Now, always remember, a neighboring state is always your enemy. Let it be with respect to India, Pakistan, India, China, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. I'm sorry, that's a very wrong statement, but Jagladtira, Kaveri River Gadra, no. Because there will be something common in stake. Are you understanding? What was common between these two people? Both of them wanted the access of this region, the Raichur Doab region. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ರಿಚ್ ಪ್ರಾವಿನ್ಸ್. ಎದೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್. ವಿಜಯನಗರ ಎಂಪೈರ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಓದ್ತಿರೋದು ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಅಲ್ಲ ಇದು. ನಮ್ಮ ಹೆಮ್ಮೆ ಇದು. ನಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅವಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ದಂಗೆ ಯಾರಿಗೆ? ಶ್ರೀ ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯಂಗೆ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಹೇಳಿ, ಎದ್ದೇಳಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ಎನರ್ಜೆಟಿಕ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಗ್ರೇಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ವಿಜಯನಗರ ಎಂಪೈರ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವ್ದಾರ ಕೇಳ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ವಿಜಯನಗರ ಎಂಪೈರ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಿವಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಕಮ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. The two kingdoms are bound to compete with each other. One thing is common, their borders. Two more things are the rich Doab region. The Raichur also had Hatti gold mines anta ivat karitiva. It also has diamond mines, Golconda. So it was a very rich province. Apart from this, both of them wanted the access of the Konkan coast. What is the reason? Trade aito. Adu bittu why they wanted to trade? Why they wanted to trade? What they wanted to trade? They wanted to trade mainly in the horses from Persia. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ವಾಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅನ್ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜ್ ಟು ದ ಬಹಮನೀಸ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದೇ ವರ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿಕಲಿ ವೆರಿ ಸುಪೀರಿಯರ್. ವೈ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿಕಲಿ ವೆರಿ ಸುಪೀರಿಯರ್? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಮ್ಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ರೇಷಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಟು ಸೇ. ಎಸ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ಲಾಮಿಕ್ ಒರಿಜಿನ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲಿ ಸುಪೀರಿಯರ್. ವೈ? ದೇ ಆರ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ Afghanistan, they are from Central Asia. China was the technological laboratory. Whatever they had to export to Europe, it had to cross Central Asia and go. It had to cross the Muslims and go to Christians. That is why they had the access to all kind of technologies. So obviously, they are closely related. So they got all the technologies from the Islamic world. So compared to the Vijayanagara Empire, the Bahmanis were actually very technologically superior. It was not Babur who introduced cannons or the gunpowder in the country. He introduced it in a large scale. But the first introduction was done by the Bahmanis. In fact, he established a cannon factory in his empire. Artha agtidya? At that point of time, what were the Vijayanagara having? They were only having human force. Aita, historians say that when he stood, ನೀವು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಂಪಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ರೆ you can see ಸಣ್ಣ ಪುಟ್ಟ hills ಇರುತ್ತೆ, rivers will be flowing, valleys will be there. These historians say, when I looked through these valleys, all the soldiers, I could see the heads of the soldiers. He did not know from where they came from. So that is how large their army was. Artha agtide? It might be exaggeration, but it is true that they had a huge army. That was their strength. What is the strength of Bahmanis? Technology and horses. So they were called as the Ashwapatis. The Vijayanagara Empire were called as the Narapatis. Andre human force. The Odisha, people of Odisha were called as the Gajapatis because there were elephants there. So these two people had to come in conflict. Artha agtidya? So what happened? Very regularly they were fighting with each other. Some point of time they crossed Tungabhadra, they acquired some area. Ivaga ಏನು ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ they were either giving some tribute to them or marrying one of their daughter on both the sides. With successive kings coming in the Sangama dynasty, there were conflicts going on. In fact, Firoz Shah Bahmani and the Devaraya first. Bukkaraya admele Devaraya first will be ruling. There were some weak rulers in between. Devaraya I, in fact, paid tributaries to Firoz Shah Bahmani. Sangama dynasty iddaga ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಯಿತು. Plus, they are getting rich. It is estimated that Hampi had a population of 3 lakh. Vijayanagara had a population of 3 lakh people, which was too huge. At that point of time, London had 60,000 people. Paris had 2 lakh people. But there was one city that was bigger than this. It was Beijing in China. So this is the second biggest city in the world. So Uttar Karnataka ಹುಡುಗರು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಕಾಲರ್ ಎತ್ತಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು, ಬಾಂಬೆ, ಡೆಲ್ಲಿ, ನಾವು ಪ್ಯಾರಿಸ್, ಲಂಡನ್ಕಿಂತ ದೊಡ್ಡವರು. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಹೆಮ್ಮೆ ಪಡಬೇಕು. ಏನು ತಪ್ಪೇನಿದೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ? ಅಮೇರಿಕಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಡು ಮನುಷ್ಯರು ಇನ್ನು ದನ ತಿನ್ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ, ಯಾವುದೋ ಇದನ್ನು ತಿನ್ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಯುವರ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿಕಲಿ ವೆರಿ ಸುಪೀರಿಯರ್. ನೀವು ಪರ್ಲ್ಸ್, ಗೋಲ್ಡ್, ಡೈಮಂಡ್ಸ್ ಸೇರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಳೆದು ಕೊಡ್ತಿದ್ರಿ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಇಫ್ ಯು ಗೋ ಟು ಲೇಪಾಕ್ಷಿ ಟೆಂಪಲ್ ಇನ್ ಅನಂತಪುರ, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ದ ಮುರಾಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಗೋಡೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಪೇಂಟಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು. ದೇರ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ಮೆನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವುಮೆನ್ ವಿತ್ ಸೋ ಮಚ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ನಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ನಾನೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿರೋದು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅಂಟಿಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೂ ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯ ಬಂದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸಂಗಮ ಡೈನಾಸ್ಟಿ. ಇನ್ನು ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಿರೋ ಫೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿರೋದು 3 ಲಕ್ಷ ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ವಿಜಯನಗರದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. ದ ಹಿಸ್ಟೋರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ರಿಟನ್ ದಿಸ್ ವೆನ್ ಎವರ್ ಹಿ ವಾಕ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯ, 100 years ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯ, ವಿಚ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್. ಅವಾಗಲೇ he says this market had any item that he had to buy in the world. These historians came from Central Asia. ಅಂದರೆ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಏಷ್ಯನ್ಸು ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ. ಯಾಕೆ? ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಟು ಯುರೋಪ್, ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಟು ಚೈನಾ ಆಲ್ಸೋ, ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಸಿಲ್ಕ್ ರೂಟ್. Abdur Razak from Samarkand in Central Asia, especially this guy writing is very much great. Yakendre we are located somewhere interior in South India, but those people are located in the junction of the world. He says that this market is so big that anything that is required in the world is available here. They sold rubies, emeralds, diamonds, golds on the streets. That is how rich they were. Whenever they walked the streets, he heard Carnatic music. Carnatic music also was founded by the Vijayanagara Empire only. They gave promotion to it. So they heard music. They heard smell of camphor. They brought peppers from on donkeys from Malabar. They ate good food. Even a slave had a gold chain, earrings. All these things at that point of time. So that is why you can know yake eeglu kuda why women are so much of obsessed with ornaments. Even men at that point of time also had so much of ornaments. Even a horseman, a slave also were wearing ornaments. They were so rich. Artha agtidya? So this economic enrichment was reached even before the beginning of 15th century. Aita Vijayana Krishnadevaraya barodu after the 16th century, 1500s only. So this is in the 1350s and the beginning of 1400s only they have become so rich. Are you understanding? So this was the main reason why these two people conflicted with each other. So Harihara, Bukka, they all developed until Devaraya the first. There were conflicts between this Muslim kingdom, this Hindu kingdom, Vijayanagara and the Bahmanis. But after Firoz Shah Bahmani, who was a very, very strong person, here after Devaraya the first, Devaraya second comes to the throne. He is the most famous ruler among the rulers of the Vijayanagara and especially the Sangama dynasty. So if you give first rank to Krishnadevaraya, second will be Devaraya the second. So he is belonging to Sangama dynasty. Krishnadevaraya is not belonging to the Sangama dynasty. Dynasty and the families. Different families have ruled Vijayanagara Empire. So among the Sangamas, it is the Devaraya the second who is coming to the throne. He comes to the throne at the age of, he was only 8 years old when he came to the throne. Aita. So ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಬಿಲ್ಡಪ್ ಕೊಟ್ವಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಚಿನ್ನ ಇತ್ತು, ಎಮರಲ್ಡ್, ರೂಬೀಸ್, ಡೈಮಂಡ್ಸ್ were all sold in the markets. Flower markets were there, brothels, prostitutes were there. They were all very beautiful. They earned so much of income from that also. So this is how the kingdom was. ಇಂಥ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಸಾಮ್ರಾಜ್ಯನ ಆಳ್ತಿರೋ ರಾಜ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ. They had competition in the form of external competition also, not just Muslim competition. They were competing with the Hindus also. Reddis, Gajapatis, South India, there were many local chieftains. They are competing with all external enemies. There were internal conflicts as well. As I told you earlier, what happened to Devaraya the second. So this is a proof to show that how in the Vijayanagara Empire there was fight among their brothers. Ivattu kuda that has continued. Correct alva? So even at that point of time it was also true. Enagutte anta andre when Devaraya second was ruling, he came at an age of he was very young fellow. It is Devaraya the second who modernized the Vijayanagara Empire. He opened the doors to the Persians, Muslims. Why? They were all technologically very superiors. He built mosques. He ordered a Quran to be placed next to his throne. Yake antandre he wanted to prove to the people that every subject, every citizen is equal and no Hindus will be dominating over the Muslims under his supervision. So he was a modernized person. He recruited Muslim soldiers. He recruited Muslim officers into his army. That is why his army got very strengthened. But what happened to him is one of his brothers had planned his assassination. So he would plan him, he would have built one more palace, invited his brother there, and he kills all of his chieftains, Brahmins who were scholars who were along with the king, Devaraya II. He takes him, invites him to a room. Then in the pretext of serving him Villadale, betel leaf and Again, the adke kodak hodaga, he would have a blade or a dagger behind, beneath that. He will stab his brother. He will stab so many times, and he feels that he's killed. He will tell his soldiers to kill him. So he thinks that his brother has died, and he goes back, announces to the people that, I have killed your king, and from now on, I'm the king. But what happens is Devaraya II was so strong that he was still alive. He came back. There are two stories. One story says that he beheaded his brother. One more story says that the people killed him in the mob. So Vijayanagara Empire, the king of Vijayanagara had to face all of these things. So now what happens? Devaraya II has modernized his army. Now he can cross the Tungabhadra, and he acquired those territories. Bankapura, Raichur anta kariteve. These were very rich provinces. Are you understanding? So he occupied that back. Now what is happening? There is fire to the Bahmanis, but still it is Devaraya II. But what happens? Devaraya's death will lead to chaos in the country in the sense in the Vijayanagara Empire. At that point of time, a new family, Saluva family or the Saluva dynasty under Saluva Narasimha. He is the only prominent ruler of the Saluva dynasty, will take over the Vijayanagara Empire. So it is the end of Sangama dynasty of the Vijayanagara Empire. Now Saluva Narasimha is coming and sitting on the throne. He is taking the power. He administers the state for a brief period of time. He is a good literate. He writes books. But gradually, with his death also, there is one more new family coming under the leadership of Narasanayaka, who belongs to the Tuluva family, to which even the Krishnadevaraya belong. Narasanayaka will actually, what happens? Now what is happening? Oba Raja ಆಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, like when the Vijayanagara Empire was being ruled, it was not a centralized administration. ಆದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಂಪಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅವರು. There were many Amara Nayakas. It was a feudal society. Andre Hampi was the center. There were many Nayakas surrounding. There were around 300 anta heltare. So they ruled, independently in different places. They directed each of them to pay so much of tax to them. They could mint their coins. They had ordered them that if there was war, you should bring so many soldiers. You should bring so many, cavalry or horses, so many elephants. So this is how the rule was going on. When there is instability in the center, obviously even they are bound to rebel. Or rebel ಆಗ್ತಾರಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ? ನಾನು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಮೇಲೆ ರೆಬೆಲ್ ಆಗ್ತೀರಾ. ನಾಯಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೇಡ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಸೈಲೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತೀರಾ. ನಾನೇ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ವೀಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪಾಠ ನೀವು ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀರಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್. Whenever a weak ruler came there, they were bound to rebel. Correct alva? So such rebellion was very common in the Vijayanagara Empire. And now after Saluva Narasimha, there was this kind of, small rebellions that happened. Artha agtidya? That is when Narasanayaka of the Tuluva dynasty came to power. Why I told this is because before Krishnadevaraya is coming and sitting on the throne, before he's coming to the throne, there are a lot of challenges ahead of him. Artha agtidya? Our appane Narasanayaka, he had many sons. The first son was Immadi. He comes to power but fails because of the rebellion. Narasimha, one more son, comes to power, fails. It is the third son, who is Krishnadevaraya, a young fellow, is coming to the throne later. What happened is a different thing. So Krishnadevaraya is coming and sitting on the throne in the beginning of 1500s. By this time, what is happening? There is a conflict between the Bahmanis and the Vijayanagara Empire. But were the Bahmanis still the same? Priyanka? By this time, the Bahmanis would have disintegrated. Artha agtidya? This Bahmani, which was so big in central India, they disintegrated. Bijapur became separate. Golconda became separate. Ahmednagar became separate. Berar became separate. So all of these people, before Krishnadevaraya came to power itself, they were split among each other. Their main enemy now became, Bijapur. Bijapur was an important city. The Adil Shahis ruled here. So the Bahmani Empire, the Muslim Empire, got broken away. So different sultans came. Nizam Shahis, Qutub Shahis, Adil Shahis, and there were different people who came to power. So on one side you have local rebellions happening, and And at that point of time, a young boy, Krishnadevaraya coming to the throne, and on the other hand, Bahamanis splitting among each other. Artha agtideya? So this is the situation now. At this point of time, the greatest of the greatest kings, who's called as Andhra Bhoja, Karnataka Ratna Simhasanedishwara. He had this title. Okay, Krishnadevaraya had such big titles because of what he achieved. So this young boy is coming to the throne, having challenges internally, externally. What is happening? He comes to power. Different historians say that he himself individually was a perfect king. They say he was of a medium height, fair in complexion, like me. So okay, he was a perfect fellow. So he knew swords, how to handle swords. He every day fought with wrestlers. He knew horse riding. He knew Sanskrit. He was a poet. So all in one package. Okay, so this guy is coming and sitting on the throne. First thing that he does is he is expanding his army. Okay, and he is leading an expedition towards Odisha. Okay, he has written a book called as Amuktya Malyada. There he has explained about the beauty of Puri Jagannath. Krishna, Balarama, Eshanagide, or Kannangide, and Allah, he has explained in that. So it is a proof that he went to the Gajapatis, defeated them, and married one of their daughters, and came back, left them independently as a token of gift. ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಆಗಿನ ಇವಾಗಲೇ ಡೌರಿ ತಗೋತೀವಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ತಗೊಳ್ಳಲ್ಲ generally in society dowry is very common. Imagine at that point of time he would have taken 1,000 elephants, ಎಷ್ಟು ಗೋಲ್ಡ್ ಅದು ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಂದಿರ್ತಾರೆ. So with big pomp and show he comes back. Because of this victory over the Gajapatis, yes, he will become very, very, very popular. Okay, he becomes very popular. Here he starts to build gopurams. He gives, Kanakadasa was living, he lived for 100 years. Kanakadasa gottalva, the greatest, of the saints, was living during the same times in the Vijayanagara. He has seen the reign of, Krishnadevaraya also. He says that truth prevailed everywhere. All the gurus were respected. All the temple constructions were happening. You can see many of the temples today. If you go to any of the temples in South India, especially Tamil Nadu, you take Madurai, you take Srirangam, all of these big temples were not built by the Vijayanagara Empire, but the big gopurams outside these temples were built by Krishnadevaraya. Artha agtide nimage? There were temples, one small sanctum within, but the huge gopurams which you see, Srirangam temple ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ನೀವು ಗೋಪುರಂ ನೋಡೋಕೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ ತಲೆ ಎತ್ತು ನೋಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಕಾಣಿಸಲ್ಲ, ಅಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡದಿದೆ ಅದು. Okay, on the banks of Kaveri river near Tirchi, you have this. So all these kinds of construction were done under the Vijayanagara Empire. So, especially during the times of Krishnadevaraya, the population further increased to 5 lakh population. Artha agtideya? So when Krishnadevaraya was ruling, anyone who lived in Gangavati, Koppala, Sindhnur, Raichur, Hampi, Ballari, Hospete, your great-grandfathers were the richest among the people in the world. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ? ಇವತ್ತು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಪಬ್ಬು ಅದು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ನಾವು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮನುಷ್ಯರು ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಆಗಿನ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಿಕ್ ಮ್ಯೂಸಿಕ್, ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಗೋಲ್ಡ್, ಡೈಮಂಡ್ಸ್, ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್. ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ದಾನವಾಗಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಾ? ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹೌ ರಿಚ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ವೇರ್, ವಿಚ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಸಂಗಮ ಡೈನಾಸ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ. ಎಕನಾಮಿ ಆಡಾಗ್ತಾನೆ ಬರ್ತಿದೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಇರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಬೀಂಗ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಡ್, ಫೋರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಗ್ರ್ಯಾಜುವಲಿ. ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟೋರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಸೇ there were 7 walled fortification. ಪ್ಯಾಲೇಸ್ಗೆ there were 7 walled fortifications. ಹಂಪಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಂಗಿದೆ ನೀವು ಇವತ್ತು ಹೋಗಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಆನ್ ದ ರಿವರ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಸೈಟ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬಂದರೆ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅದರ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ಇಂಟೀರಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಪ್ಯಾಲೇಸಸ್, ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ 7 forts, 7 layers of fortification. Each layer will be filled with boulders. Imagine these are the 7 layers. If the enemy has to cross this fort, ille kalgolirutte, security will be there. They had to cross 7 kind of layers like this. So much of, if ish ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ದುಡ್ಡು ಇರಬೇಕು? ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತಾ? ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಟ್ರಂಪ್ ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ಡ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಎ ವಾಲ್ ಇನ್ ಅಮೆರಿಕನ್ ಮೆಕ್ಸಿಕೋ ಬಾರ್ಡರ್. ಯಾಕೆ? ಅಮೆರಿಕನ್ಸ್ ಹತ್ರ ಅಷ್ಟು ದುಡ್ಡಿದೆ. So without money you can't do all of these things. Why they became rich is also because of agricultural prosperity. Agriculture, why it prospered? It is because irrigation facilities were developed. ಆಗಿನ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಗ್ರಹಾರಗಳು ಅಂತ ಇರ್ತಿತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, ವೇರ್ ದ ಬ್ರಾಹ್ಮಿನ್ಸ್ ಲಿವ್, ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹೂ ಲರ್ನ್, ದೇ ವರ್ ಸಿಂಪ್ಲಿ ನಾಟ್ ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ವೇದಾಸ್. ಅವ್ರೇನು ಶ್ಲೋಕ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಥರ. ಇವತ್ತು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಶ್ಲೋಕ ಹೇಳಿ ಅವ್ರು ಪ್ರಸಾದ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರಷ್ಟೇ. ಬಟ್ ಆಗಿನ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ದೇ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಡ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ. ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್. ಫ್ರಮ್ ದೇರ್ ದೇ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಪೀಪಲ್, ಈ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿ ನೀವು, ಈ ಥರ ಇರಿಗೇಷನ್, ಈ ಥರ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ವೆಲ್ಸ್ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂದಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಇರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಡ್. ಅಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹೌ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದೀಸ್ ಏರಿಯಾಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದೇ ಬಿಕೇಮ್ ವೆರಿ ಪ್ರಾಸ್ಪರಸ್. Because they became prosperous, they paid more tax to the king. Because the king had more money, he built gopurams. ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಅವ್ರ ರಿಚ್ನೆಸ್ ಏನು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಇವತ್ತು ದಸರಾ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, ದಸರಾ ವಾಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಬೈ ದೆಮ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ದೇರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಮಹಾನವಮಿ ದಿಬ್ಬ. ಮಹಾನವಮಿ ದಿಬ್ಬ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ವಿಚ್ ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ವುಡನ್ ಪಿಲ್ಲರ್ಸ್. ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಸೋ ಹೈ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ವರ್ ಥೌಸಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಲಿಫೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಇವತ್ತು ಹೆಂಗೆ ಆನೆ ಅಂಬಾರಿ, ಜಂಬೂ ಸವಾರಿ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತಲ್ವ ಮೈಸೂರಲ್ಲಿ, ವೆರಿ ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ಲಿ ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್ were happening, fireworks were happening, musicians, learned scholars, they were all receiving gifts in gold, rubies, emeralds. The king used to sit on the pavilion, all the learned men, musicians came, he gifted all of them on the Mahanavami day. It was a 10-day event that was happening, correct alva? So they were so rich, aita. So this everything was fine with the Vijayanagara Empire. People were happy, everything was very, very, very fine until and unless when Krishna Devaraya led an expedition towards Bijapur. Aita, ivaga enagide, Bahmanis illa. Bahmanis have split among each other and now they are Nizam Shahis, Adil Shahis, Qutub Shahis. They're all in different names. It was both an advantage and disadvantage for the Vijayanagara Empire. We'll see how. So ivaga you are imagining how Hampi is. Everything is in a perfect state. As described by Kanakadasaru, everything is in a perfect state. Economy is perfect, administration is perfect, wealth, happiness, everything is in a perfect stage. Gajapatis have also come down. Their territory is not just this. I forgot to tell you, Devaraya the second, when he came to power, he annexed northern Sri Lanka, he annexed Myanmar, Southeast Asia also. Krishna Devaraya alla, Devaraya second ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲೇ all this was under their control. Are you understanding? So imagine, it was still growing and now everything is perfect under Krishna Devaraya. So now what is happening? Krishna Devaraya is crossing Krishna river and going to the north. Who is technologically superior? Bahmanis. But I told you, Devaraya the second advanced or modernized the army. He recruited Portuguese gunners, musketeers. He took cannons. He took Muslim officers who developed, their technologies. But still, the northern Adil Shahis were technologically superior with respect to cannons especially. Artha agtidya? So, Krishna Devaraya will decide to go attack the Adil Shahi. Okay, he crosses the Krishna river. Ee news Adil Shahi kelsutte. What he will do, even he will come to the battlefield. The famous battle of Raichur they call. This is a very, very famous battle. 132,000 soldiers were, Krishna Devaraya led 132,000 soldiers. 30,000 horses, around 1,000 elephants were led by Krishna Devaraya. On the opposite side, there were 1,000 cannons and lesser soldiers, but there were 1,000 cannons that was led by the Adil Shahis. So this, with huge ಟ್ರಂಫೆಟ್, ಡೋಲು ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಯುದ್ಧಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಯ್ತಾ, ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇನಿಷಿಯಲಿ ದ ವಿಜಯನಗರ ಎಂಪೈರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಸಿ ಅ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಬ್ಲೋ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಒನ್ ಲೈನ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ಯಾನನ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ಆದಿಲ್ ಶಾಹೀಸ್. ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಫೈರ್ ಇಟ್ ಆನ್ ದ ವಿಜಯನಗರ ಎಂಪೈರ್. ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್, ನಾಟ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್, in the whole battle 16,000 soldiers lose their life. But here around 10,000 soldiers will lose their lives in the first blow itself. ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ನೀವು ಬಾಹುಬಲಿ ಫಿಲಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಲಕೇಯ ಬರ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ, ಕಾಲಕೇಯ ಬಂದು ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನು ಸಾಯಿಸ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಅವಾಗ ಬಾಹುಬಲಿ ಆರ್ಮಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಾಪಸ್ ಓಡೋಗ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಡ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ವೆನ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ದೇವರಾಯ ವಾಸ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಟಲ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್, ವೆನ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಸಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ ಅನ್ ಎಲಿಫೆಂಟ್, he had swords when he was fighting in the battle. When the cannon fired and many people died, many started to go back. They were starting to give up. But our Prabhas ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನಲ್ಲಿ, he will motivate the soldiers alva. You remember? Same thing even Krishna Devaraya did. He told, those who want to stay loyal with me, you stay. I will lead this battle anta. So what happened at this point of time? So always remember what we learn from history ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇದೆಯಾ, ರ್ಯಾಬಿಟ್ ಟರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ನಾಯಿನ ಆಚೆ ಓಡಿಸುತ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ people of Indians are like that only. Even though we are weaker, we can turn back. So what you learn from history is this: the moral courage which Krishna Devaraya had. Even Akbar had the same courage. 16 ವರ್ಷದ ಹುಡುಗ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಹಿಂದೂ ರಾಜನ್ ಸೋಲಿಸ್ತಾನೆ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಾ? ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಇವನು ಕೃಷ್ಣ ದೇವರಾಯ ವಾಟ್ ಹಿ ಡಿಡ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಈ ಕ್ಯಾನನ್ಸ್ ಒಂದೇ ಸರಿ ಬ್ಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಅದನ್ನ ರೀಫಿಲ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಬೇಕು. Meanwhile, in that time, Krishna Devaraya motivated all of them. He led the battle himself and slaughtered the opponents, and they were actually defeated there. This is just the first layer. He did not defeat Adil Shahi. Adil Shahi is a coward. ನಾನು ನೀವು ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಪದ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದೆ, ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಅವನು ಗಂಡಲ್ಲ, ಅವನು ಬೇಡ. He came there. He was not there. He was hiding in Bijapur. He was not even in Bijapur. He was hiding somewhere else. Krishna Devaraya is leading the battle. So the first layer is defeated. ಏನಿದೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ? ಕ್ಯಾನನ್ಸ್, ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರು. This is gone. Next, they are entering into Raichur. Raichur fort is in a very, very ಒಂದು ಬೆಟ್ಟದ ಮೇಲೆ ಇದೆ. It's in a very higher position. Always ಬೆಟ್ಟದ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಇರೋರಿಗೇನೆ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ. ಕಾರ್ಗಿಲ್ ಯುದ್ಧನೂ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಡಿಲೇ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ಸ್ ವೇರ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಬಾಟಮ್, Pakistanis attacked from the top, but still we defeated them. Correct alva? What's his name? Vikram. Hum dil mange more anta one famous slogan was given by a soldier. Vikram anteno barutta avರ ಹೆಸರು. You have to know about him. It was actually that small boy, a small soldier, who led the Kargil war. ಕೆಳಗಿಂದ ಹೋಗಿ ಇವ್ರನ್ನ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸೋಲ್ಸಿದ್ದು. Very similarly, what is happening here also, Krishna Devaraya himself is leading. When the leader is leading, only then you'll be ready to sacrifice. ಇಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಗೇನು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ? ಅವನು ಸೇಫ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ನಾವ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ನಮ್ಮ ಹೆಂಡತಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಮನೇಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ? ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವಾಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ದ ಸಲ್ತನೇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಸೊ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ದೇವರಾಯ ಇಸ್ ಲೀಡಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಟಲ್. ನೌ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಬೋತ್ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜಿಯಸ್, ಡಿಸ್ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜಿಯಸ್ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್. ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜ್ ಏನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾನನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್. ಕ್ಯಾನನ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಗೋ ಇನ್ ಅ ಟ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿ. ಅದು ನೀವು ಹೆಂಗ್ ಬೇಕು ಹಂಗೆ ತಿರ್ಗ್ಸಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಲೋಕಲ್ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್. ಈಗ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕಲ್ಬಂಡೆಗಳೇ, ರಾಯಚೂರು, ಸಿನ್ನೂರು, ಬಳ್ಳಾರಿ, ಇಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ ಟೊಪೋಗ್ರಫಿ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ದೇ ಡಿಡ್, ದೇ ಸರೌಂಡೆಡ್ ದ ಹಿಲ್ಸ್. ಹಿಯರ್ ದ ಪೋರ್ಚುಗೀಸ್ ಮಸ್ಕೆಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಲೇಡ್ ಅ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ರೋಲ್. ದೇವರಾಯ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾನಲ್ವಾ, ಕೃಷ್ಣ ದೇವರಾಯ ವುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಮೋರ್. ಯಾಕೆ? 1498 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಸ್ಕೋ ಡ ಗಾಮಾ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ. ಸೊ ಮೆನಿ ಪೋರ್ಚುಗೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಅವರ್ ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ನ್ ಕೋಸ್ಟ್. ಗೋವಾ ಇಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದೇರ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ. ದೇವರಾಯ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಡೆವಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾನಲ್ವಾ, ಗೋವಾ ಇಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದೇರ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್. ಸೊ ನೌ ಈಸ್ ರೆಕ್ರೂಟಿಂಗ್ ಮೋರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಪೋರ್ಚುಗೀಸ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ, ಪೋರ್ಚುಗೀಸ್ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್, ಪೋರ್ಚುಗೀಸ್ ಗನ್ಸ್, ಮಸ್ಕೆಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ದೇ ಪ್ಲೇಡ್ ಅ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ರೋಲ್ ಇನ್ ಡಿಫೀಟಿಂಗ್ ದ ರಾಯಚೂರ್ ಫೋರ್ಟ್. ರಾಯಚೂರ್ ಫೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ವಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ತಪ್ಪು, ದ ವಿಜಯನಗರ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ವಿ ಬಿಲಾಂಗ್ ಟು ದ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಥರ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, ಹಿಂದೂ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಂ ಅನ್ನೋ ಥರ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ದಟ್. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಎನಿವೇ, ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್, ದಿಸ್ ವಿಜಯನಗರ ಎಂಪೈರ್, ದ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್, they attacked from the down. The musketeers fired and they were successful in annexing the Raichur fort also. It was a great success. So illu mugdilla, Adil Shahi ಸಿಗ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಅವನು ಹೋಗಿ ಬಚ್ಚಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾನೆಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ದೇವರಾಯ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ, ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಅಡಮೆಂಟ್. ನೀವು ನೋಡಿ, ಫೇಮಸ್ ಯಾರು ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಯಾರು ಹೂ ರಿಮೈನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ, ದೇ ಆರ್ ವೆರಿ ಅಡಮೆಂಟ್ ಪೀಪಲ್. ಆಗ್ಲೇಬೇಕು ಮಾಡೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಕೆಟ್ಟದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ. ಇಂದಿರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ, ಮೋದಿ ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಹಠ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ. ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡೋದು ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಕೆಟ್ಟದಾಗಿದೆ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಫೇಮಸ್. ಪೀಪಲ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಸಚ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ದೇವರಾಯ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಅ ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್. ಹಿ ಮಾರ್ಚ್ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಬಿಜಾಪುರ್. ಬಿಜಾಪುರಲ್ಲಾದರೂ ಆದಿಲ್ ಶಾಹಿ ಸಿಗ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದ, ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಸಿಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ವಾಟ್ ಹಿ ಡಿಡ್, ಹಿ ಸ್ಟೇಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಮಂತ್ಸ್ ಟುಗೆದರ್. ಹಿ ವೆಂಟ್ ದೇರ್, ಹಿ ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ಡ್, ಆದಿಲ್ ಶಾಹಿ ಬಂದರೆ ನಾನು ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಹಿ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ಸ್. ದುಡ್ಡು ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾರ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಳ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಆನೆ ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ ಬರುತ್ತಾ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಕುದುರೆ ಪರ್ಷಿಯಿಂದ ತರಿಸೋದು, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಪ ಕೊಡ್ತಾನ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಆದಿಲ್ ಶಾಹಿಗೆ. ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನದೇ ಯುದ್ಧಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಬಾರ್ದು ನೀನು. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಖರ್ಚಾಗಿದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿ ನಾನು. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಕಿಂಗ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಸರೆಂಡರ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದ ಓನ್ಲಿ ರೀಸನ್, ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಮಾರಲ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಕೃಷ್ಣ ದೇವರಾಯ ಏನು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಬಿಡಿ. ಈ ಕಡೆ ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಲಂಡನ್, ಪ್ಯಾರಿಸ್ ಅಟ್ ದಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್. ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅದು, ನಾನು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಸೋ ರಿಚ್. ಆಯ್ತಾ? So what happened, it might be because of ego or a political reason. Adil Shahi ಬಚ್ಚಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ. These people are staying there for months together. ಹಿಸ್ಟೋರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಏನಂತ ಬರೀತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಇವ್ರು ಬಿಟ್ಟೋಗ ಅಷ್ಟರಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಜಾಪುರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಲುಕಿಂಗ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಒಂದು ಸನ್ಫ್ಲವರ್ನ ಹನಿಬೀಸು ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ತಿಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೆಂಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅರ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಫ್ಲವರ್, ಎಲ್ಲ ಹುಳಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲ ತಿಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಆ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ಲುಕ್ಡ್. ಅದೇ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ ಸಿಂಪ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಗೋ, ಒಂದು ಮನೆಯನ್ನು ಹೊಡೆದಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮರನೆಲ್ಲ ತಂದು ಬಿಸಿ ಕಾಯಿಸ್ಕೊಡೋರು. They used to simply go to some wells, drink water and come back. But you have to appreciate them. They did not do anything to civilians. ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಇದು ತಪ್ಪೆ. But you will see what the Muslim kings did to the Hindu empire later. ಅದು ನೀವು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆಯ್ತಾ, ಹೇಳಲೇಬೇಕು. there is no other choice. So Krishnadevara there, still he did not come back, Adil Shahi. So they got all the water drained itself. ಇದನ್ನು ಹಿಸ್ಟೋರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಬರೆಯೋದು. ಯಾಕೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಂದರು ಅಂತ ಅಂದರೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರಿರಲಿಲ್ವಂತೆ. ಇವಾಗ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಟ್ಯಾಂಕರಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರು ಓಡಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಆ ಥರ ಅವಾಗ ಟ್ಯಾಂಕರ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಮಳೆಗಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಯಬೇಕು, ನೀರಿಲ್ಲ, ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಂದರು. ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯ ಕೇಮ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್, ಓಕೆ, ವಿತ್ ಅ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೆಸ್ಟೀಜ್ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇದು. ಬಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಒನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಡ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ವಿಚ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪೆಂಡ್ ಇಸ್ ಹಿ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 16,000 of his soldiers. ಆಯ್ತಾ, ದಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಬ್ಲೋ ಟು ದೆಮ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್, the sultans were disappointed because of this. ನೀವು ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅವಮಾನ ಆಗೇ ಆಗುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಎನ್ಗ್ರೇವ್ಡ್ ದ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್. ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯ ಇರೋರ್ಗೂ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. BJP ಮೋದಿ ಇರೋರ್ಗೂ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಡಿಬೋದು, ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯ ಹತ್ರ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ಹುಟ್ಟು ಬರಬೇಕು, ಅವಾಗ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್. ಸೊ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ ಟು ದ ವಿಜಯನಗರ ಎಂಪೈರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್, all this situation is not staying for a longer period of time. So Vijayanagara or ಕಾಲರ್ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಎತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಇವಾಗ, ಬಟ್ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಯಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅ ಲಾಂಗರ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್? ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯಂಗು he dies at a very young age because of illness. 54 he died. ಆಯ್ತಾ, ಬೇಗ ಸತ್ತೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. He had 2 sons. One will be poisoned and killed. One more is very too young to become the king. That is when his brother Achyutaraya was placed on the throne. Achyutaraya was not a strong leader like Krishnadevaraya. It was under Achyutaraya only when Kempegowda built Bangalore. Kempegowda took the help of Achyutaraya to establish this Bengaluru Pete. He was staying in Yelahanka. Yelahanka Nadaprabhu antane ಕರೆಯೋದು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ. So he established Bengaluru Pete with the help of Achyutaraya. So these kings actually helped all these Nayakas, the local chieftains. Amara Nayaka ಪದ್ಧತಿ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ ಅದನ್ನು. So Achyutaraya came to the throne. But at this point of time, there is one more influential figure whose name is Aliya Ramaraya, who was Aliya ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ, is a son-in-law. So he had married one of the princes of the royal family. He was a part of the court. ಈ Aliya Ramaraya ಯಾರು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, he was working as a courtier in Golconda also. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? When Krishnadevaraya became very popular, he thought he will find a good position ಅಂತ ಅವನು ವಿಜಯನಗರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ. ಈಸ್ ಅನ್ ಆಫೀಸರ್. ನೀವು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಪೋಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಸ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ ಪೋಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ಥರ. ಈಸ್ ಅನ್ ಆಫೀಸರ್, ಈಸ್ ಅನ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟರ್ ಹೂ ಕೇಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಗೋಲ್ಕೊಂಡ, ಮ್ಯಾರಿಡ್, ಎಲ್ಲ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಬಂದು he came to the Vijayanagara empire. So that is when the journey of Vijayanagara started to decline. After Achyutaraya, after his death, Sadashivaraya will be placed on the throne, who is nothing more than a puppet of Aliya Ramaraya. He was placed on a throne at a very, very young age. But when he became an adult also, when he tried to administer independently, Aliya Ramaraya imprisoned him. ನೀನು ಮಹಾರಾಜನ್ನ ಜೈಲಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನೀನು ರಾಜ್ಯ ನಡೆಸ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ. ಊರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಗಾದೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಅಳಿಯ ಮನೆ ತೊಳಿಯ ಅಂತ, ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ಸೊ ಅಳಿಯನೇ ಮಗನೇ ಯಾವತ್ತು, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಹಿ ಡಿಡ್, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬೇಜಾರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಡಿ, ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಡ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಹಿ ಡಸ್, ಹಿ ಪುಟ್ಸ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಇನ್ ಜೈಲ್, ಹಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್. ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಇರಲ್ಲ ಅವನು. ವಾಟ್ ಹಿ ಡಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ, ಹಿ ಪಿಟ್ಸ್ ಒನ್ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ದ ಈಚ್ ಅದರ್. Nizam Shahis against Adil Shahis against Qutub Shahis. Why he was doing, ಅವನು ಅವಾಗ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆದಿಲ್ ಶಾಹಿ ವುಡ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ಹಿಮ್ ಫಾರ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್. ಸೊ ಇವರಿಬ್ರು ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಸೋಲ್ಸೋದು. ನಾಳೆ ನಿಜಾಮ್ ಶಾಹೀಸ್ನ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಹಿ ವುಡ್ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ದೆಮ್. ಇದೇ ಥರ ಕಾನ್ಫ್ಲಿಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವಾಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಬ್ರೀಫ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್. he actually hang nodakori he ruled for the longest period of time. 1565 ವರ್ಗು he was staying in power. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ಸೊ ಇವಾಗ ನಿಜಾಮ್ಸ್ the sultans got to know that this fellow is doing something bad to us. So that is when they united against the Vijayanagara Empire. All of them united against the Vijayanagara Empire, especially against Aliya Ramaraya. So this is when the famous battle of Talikota, battle of Rakkasatangadi, was fought between the Vijayanagara Empire and the combined sultans of the Deccan. Correct alva? So they came. When you compare the numbers of the soldiers of the Vijayanagara Empire and the combined armies of Sultan, the army of the Vijayanagara Empire greatly outnumbered. They had 7 lakh soldiers. Krishnadevaraya had only 1,32,000 soldiers. Aliya Ramaraya had 7 lakh soldiers. Not just from Vijayanagara. ಅವಾಗಲೇ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಹೋಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಯುದ್ಧಕ್ಕೆ. All the Amaranayakas would have taken their soldiers and horses, elephants with them to the battlefield. So 7 lakh soldiers, 70,000 horses, around 2,000 elephants. They had cannons, both had cannons, and they came to the battle, okay, on the banks of Krishna river. ಯುದ್ಧ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಯಿತು, ಫಸ್ಟು ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ disadvantage, but here the opposite thing happened. Yeah, because both of them are having cannons, equal number of cannons. So Aliya Ramaraya's soldiers are outnumbering them. So at one point of time it was seen that Aliya Ramaraya had won the war. Actually he was very confident of it also, that he will win the war. But that did not happen. Things changed. What happened? There is one technology which the sultans used. Cannons alli they filled copper coins. That is called as grape shot. Aita, when that was fired, it was in the same fire Aliya Ramaraya also lost his life. He was 80 years old. 80. ಆ ವಯಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಆಸೆ ಆ ಮುತ್ಕಂಗೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಪಾಪ ಯಾರೋ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರಿಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಕೊಡೋದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈಸ್ ಸಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್, ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಸಿಟ್ ಆನ್ ಅ ಹಾರ್ಸ್. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಯಾಲಂಕ್ವಿನ್ ಅಂತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅಂದರೆ ಪಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿ, ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಎತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಆಡ್ತಿದ್ರು ಅವನ್ನ, ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ಹಿ ಇಸ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಟಲ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್, ಹಿ ಡೈಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಗ್ರೇಪ್ ಶಾಟ್. ನಾಟ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಹಿಮ್, ಮೆನಿ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ದೇರ್ ಲೈಫ್. ಎರಡು ಕಡೆನೂ ಕ್ಯಾನನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಬಟ್ the Muslim army used this technology, and it was a huge blow to them. When you lose the leader, your team will become hopeless. ಧೋನಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಕಪ್ ಗೆದ್ದಿದ್ದು. ವಿರಾಟ್ ಕೊಹ್ಲಿ ನಂಬರ್ 1 ಬ್ಯಾಟ್ಸ್ಮನ್ ಗೆಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ, ರೋಹಿತ್ ಶರ್ಮಾ ನಂಬರ್ 1 ಬ್ಯಾಟ್ಸ್ಮನ್. ಲೀಡರ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ನೀವು ಅಕ್ಬರ್ ಇಂದ ತಗೊಂಡು ಎನಿವನ್ ಯು ಟೇಕ್, ಅಶೋಕ, ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಲೀಡ್. Leader is important. ನಿನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆರ್ಮಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನೋ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ 7 lakh soldiers. Are you understanding? So still you are not, that is the same with IPL also. That is why your RCB team will lose against a good leader, not against a good team. Correct alva? Same thing happened here also. The soldiers are leaderless. Now what is happening? The war is turning in favor of the sultans. ಇವನ್ ಸದೋದ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ನೋಡಿ, ಅಳಿಯ ಮನೆ ತೊಳಿಯ ಅಂದಂಗೆ ಇವ್ರ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ, ಇವ್ರ ಅಣ್ಣ ತಮ್ಮಿಂದ್ರೆಲ್ಲ ವಾಪಸ್ ಹಂಪಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ವಿಜಯನಗರಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಓಡ್ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ವಾಪಸ್ಸು. ವಾಟ್ ದೇ ಡೂ ವೆನ್ ದೇ ಗೆಟ್ ಟು ನೋ ದಟ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಲೂಸಿಂಗ್, ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಟೇಕ್ ಆಲ್ ಗುಡ್ ವೆಲ್ತ್ ವಿತ್ ದೆಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರನ್ ಅವೇ ಟು ಆಂಧ್ರ ಪ್ರದೇಶ್. ಮಗ ಆಗಿದೆ ಆ ಥರ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ನ, ನಮ್ಮನೆ ಅಂತ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇರೋನು, ಸಾಯೋದು ಬದುಕೋದು. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ ಐ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಟ್ ಕಾಂಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ ಹಿಸ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್, ನಾಟ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ದೆಮ್, members of royal families, officers, big literates, ಇವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದರೆ, ದೇ ಟೇಕ್ ಅವೇ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರನ್ ಅವೇ. ಇದೇ ಕನಕದಾಸರೇ ಬರೆದಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಹಿ ಹಸ್ ಸೀನ್ ದ ರೈನ್ ಆಫ್ ಇವ್ರನ್ನೂ. ಈ ಲಿವ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ 100 years. ಕನಕದಾಸ ಲಿವ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ 100 years. ಹಿ ಸೇಸ್, ಸತ್ಯ ಕಾಲ ಹೋಯ್ತು, ಅಣ್ಣ ತಮ್ಮಿಂದ್ರು ಒಬ್ಬರ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಹಾಸ್ಟೆಲಿಟಿ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ, ಬ್ರೈಬರಿ, ಕರಪ್ಷನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿವೆ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಅವ್ರು ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅಳಿಯ ರಾಮರಾಯ ಕೆಟ್ಟವನೋ ಒಳ್ಳೆನೋ ಬೇಡ, ಬಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಹಿಸ್ ರೂಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಡ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಕೇಮ್ ಟು ವಿಜಯನಗರ. ದಟ್ ಪ್ರೂಫ್ ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕನಕದಾಸರು ಬರೆದಿರೋದೇ ಪ್ರೂಫ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯನ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ವರ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಡೆತ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಪ್ರೂಫ್. ನೋ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಟಲ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್. ದಿಸ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಆರ್ ರನ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. ದೇ ಟುಕ್ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಚಿನ್ನ, ಅಂಬಾರಿ ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೋ, ಅಂಬಾರಿ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ತಾನೇ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು. ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಟುಕ್, ವಜ್ರ ವೈಡೂರ್ಯಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಅವರ್ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ, the Vijayanagara soldiers will be fighting in Talikota against the against the sultanates, the Deccan sultanates. This will go on for a few days and finally they are done and dusted. Vijayanagara ಇನ್ನು ಹಂಗೆ ಇದೆ. ಇವ್ರೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಸುಲ್ತಾನೇಟ್ಸು ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಸಮ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟಾರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಇಂಜೂರ್ ಆಗಿರೋದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ದಿನ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸಮ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಸೇ ದೇ ಕೇಮ್ ಇನ್ 2 days, ಸಮ್ ಸೇ ದೇ ಕೇಮ್ ಇನ್ 1 week. ದಿಸ್ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ಲಿ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ಸ್. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಇನ್ ದ ಮೀನ್ ವೈಲ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಎಸ್ಕೇಪ್ಡ್, ದೇ ಟುಕ್. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್ ಹಿಂಗೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಓಡ್ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಟಲ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಸೋಲ್ತಿದಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಸುಮಾರು ಜನ ಹಿಂಗೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಓಡ್ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಯಾವುದೋ ಬೆಟ್ಟ ಗುಡ್ಡ ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸಮ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ರಿಚ್, ಕೆಳಗಿಟ್ಟಿರೋ ಚಿನ್ನ ಅದು ಏನೇನು ಬೇಕು ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ವೆನ್ ದ ಸುಲ್ತಾನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಮ್ ದೇ ವರ್ ವೆರಿ ಆ್ಯಂಗ್ರಿ. ಯಾಕೆ ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯ ಯಾಕೆ ಆ್ಯಂಗ್ರಿ ಇದ್ದ? ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ರಾಜ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ವೆನ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ನೋ ಬಡಿ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್, ಯಾರೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆನ್ ದೇ ವರ್ ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟವರು. ದೇ ಬಿಕೇಮ್ ಸೈಕೋಪಾತ್ಸ್. ದೇ ಬರ್ನ್ಟ್ ದ ಟೆಂಪಲ್ಸ್, ದೇ ಬರ್ನ್ಟ್ ದ ಹೌಸಸ್, ದೇ ಸ್ಟೇಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ 6 months. ಪ್ರತಿ ಮನೆಗೂ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ, ಆ ಮನೇಲಿ ಏನೇನಿದೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ತೊಗೊತಾರೆ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಗದಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಚಿನ್ನಾಭರಣ ಏನೇನಿದೆ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ಲಿ ಡಿವಾಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ವಿಜಯನಗರ. ಒಂದು ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಜಯನಗರದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಸಿಗಬೇಕಿತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗೋದು. ರೋಡಲ್ಲಿ ಎಮರಲ್ಡ್ಸ್, ರೂಬೀಸ್, ಡೈಮಂಡ್ಸ್ were all sold. It came to what state of anarchy. ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಸುಲ್ತಾನ್ಸ್ ಬಂದು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, 6 months ದೇ ಲೂಟೆಡ್. ಏನು ಲೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ಇವರು? ಅವ್ರು ಬಿಟ್ಟೋಗಿರೋದನ್ನ. ಅಳಿಯ ರಾಮರಾಯ ಅಣ್ಣ ತಮ್ಮಿಂದ್ರು, ಅವನ ಹೆಂಡ್ರು ಮಕ್ಕಳು, ಅದೇನಂತ ಅವ್ನು 4-5 ಜನ ಹೆಂಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ, ಅವ್ರ ಮಕ್ಕಳು, ಅವ್ರ ಮೊಮ್ಮಕ್ಕಳು, ಇವ್ರು ಎಲ್ಲ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿದ್ದನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರೋದು. ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸು, ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್ ಏನೇನು ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರೋದನ್ನ 6 ತಿಂಗಳು ತೊಗೊಂಡೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆರ್ ಯು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್? ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ ಮಹಾನವಮಿ, ದಿಬ್ಬ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಇವಾಗ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ದೇ ವರ್ ಆಲ್ ವುಡನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್. ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸುಟ್ಟಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ರು. ಈಗಲೂ ಏನೇನು ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹಳೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಗ್ರಾನೈಟಿಕ್ ಹಿಲ್ಸಿಂದ ಏನು ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅದು. ಆರ್ ಯು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್? ಸೊ ದೇ ಲೂಟೆಡ್ ಫಾರ್ 6 months. ಈ ಲೂಟ್ ಹೆಂಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಅವ್ರು ತೊಗೊಂಡೋಗಿದಾರಲ್ಲ ಜಾಗ. ಯು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್? ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಳಿಯ ರಾಮರಾಯ, their family, all they took maximum wealth with them. Maximum ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ precious wealth with them. The sultans came, they took everything for 6 months. They killed people, they destroyed temples, they destroyed palaces, they burned the palaces. The great Vijayanagara empire became fire. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ಇವ್ರು ವಾಪಸ್ ತೊಗೊಂಡೋದ್ರಲ್ವಾ, ಆ ದಾರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಲೇಟರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಮೆನಿ ಹಿಸ್ಟಾರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಚಿನ್ನದ ತಟ್ಟೆ, ವಜ್ರ ವೈಡೂರ್ಯಗಳು ಅವ್ರು ಬಿಟ್ಟೋಗಿರೋ ದಾರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿತ್ತು. Imagine the wealth of Vijayanagara Empire. Are you understanding? So, this is the end of the Vijayanagara Empire. Allah, it did not end here. It still continued. ಇಷ್ಟು ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ನೋಡಿ ನೀರು ಕೊಡಿಸ್ತಿದೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಅವ್ರು ಎಷ್ಟು ಯುದ್ಧ ಮಾಡಿರಲ್ಲ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? But the Vijayanagara, this province, it got ended. ನೀವು ನೀರು ಕುಡಿತಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ ನಾವು, ತಿರುಮಲರಾಯ ಅವ್ರ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಆಂಧ್ರ ಪ್ರದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋದ್ರು. ದೇ ವೆಂಟ್ ಟು ಪೆನ್ಕೊಂಡ ರೀಜನ್, ತಿರುಪತಿ ಹತ್ರ ಪೆನ್ಕೊಂಡ. ದೇ ವರ್ ದ ಅರವಿಡು ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ, ಅರವಿಡು ಡೈನಾಸ್ಟಿ. ಸೊ ವಿಚ್ ವಾಸ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಡೈನಾಸ್ಟಿ? ಸಂಗಮ ಡೈನಾಸ್ಟಿ. ಹರಿಹರ ಬುಕ್ಕ ದೇವರಾಯ 1, ದೇವರಾಯ 2, ದೆನ್ ಸಳುವ ನರಸಿಂಹ 1 prominent ruler. ತುಳುವ ಡೈನಾಸ್ಟಿ, ದ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನಾಲಿಟಿ ವಾಸ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣದೇವರಾಯ. ದೆನ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಎಂಡ್ ಅಚ್ಯುತರಾಯ, ಸದಾಶಿವರಾಯ. Ramaraya was the de facto, ಅಂದರೆ not the de jure but the de facto ruler. After losing in the battle of Talikota, everything is gone and they are going and shifting to Andhra Pradesh in the Tirupati region of Penkonda. From there, Tirumalaraya was the king who established the Aravidu dynasty, and there they ruled for another 100 years. But that did not sustain for a longer period of time. It is because of all internal conflicts and the conflicts from the neighboring kingdoms. The Nayakas of Jinji, the Nayakas of Tanjavur, the Sultans of Madurai, Mysore, Madakari Nayakas of Chitradurga, then Keladi, Shivappa Nayaka, you have heard, no, from Shivamogga. All these people rebelled against them. They became independent. So gradually it got ended. Next ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದರೆ, ಮೈಸೂರು ಮಹಾರಾಜರು they become strong and they uphold Karnataka. ಮೈಸೂರು ಮಹಾರಾಜ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೇನೆ. ವಿಜಯನಗರ ಫುಲ್ ಡಿವಾಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಗೋದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಚಿತ್ರದುರ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾಯಕಾಸು, ಶಿವಮೊಗ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾಯಕರು, ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಮಧುರೈ, ತಂಜಾವೂರ್, ಜಿಂಜಿ, ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಆರ್ small fortifications, small kings. Even the Mysore Wadiyars were also a very Pallegards of 33 villages. ಇವ್ರನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಡಿಫೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಂದು they will establish a kingdom later. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? So this is how the Vijayanagara Empire ended. Okay? You want to write? You want to write or shall I give you the notes? One second, I'll come back.